Welcome to the GSMC Fitness Podcast, the show that helps you sort through all of the trends, new and old, of the fitness world. We'll talk about yoga, running, Zumba, weightlifting, and everything in between. Whether you've got your fitness routine down to a science or you're just starting out and looking for direction, you'll find educational and entertaining information on the GSMC Fitness Podcast.
Hello, thank you for tuning in to the GSMC Fitness Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I'm your host, Christian Mayers, and we're here to talk about some things fitness related. Oh, by the way, I hope I didn't blow your ears off, because I know I essentially just yelled into the mic, kind of crazy like, but I apologize. It is what it is. Here you are, and we're all here to talk about some things today. We've got some things lined up. And it's more of a continuation of what we talked about last week. I don't exactly know when these are going up, but whenever you listen to it, here's the continuation of what we were talking about in the very last episode. Last episode, we were talking about, hey, let me go ahead and pull up my notes real quick, because I actually kind of did forget what we were talking about. But it was basically, we were talking about like weeks 4 to 6. And because this week we were talking about weeks 7 to 10. Last week we were talking about weeks 4 to 6 and a general overview about that, making adjustments, keeping track of yourself, and of course at the end the best things to do after a workout, which was more of an objective thing that really didn't have too much to do with the actual podcast overall itself. But I thought it was pretty fun to talk about overall, so I did. But here we are today. With our very next episode. I believe this is episode maybe 66, I think. No. Episode 65. I don't know, but you probably do from looking at the thing. But hey, but here we are in this next episode to talk about weeks 7 to 10. And later on, I'm going to be going over, again, making some more adjustments, but more specifically catered towards weeks 7 to 10. And then I'm going to be going over... like if you're still struggling mentally, I got some things to talk about there as well. And then finally, in my last segment, I'm going to be going over something a little more fun as well, a little off topic, but still, pretty fun. I'm going to go over my favorite athlete from each sport, from basketball, football, and track and field. I thought I'd just pick those 3 sports because those are my favorite sports, I guess I could say overall, with the exception of MMA as well, but we can get into that later. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get into this for today. But, before I actually get into it, like I just said I would, honestly, 5 seconds ago, how are you guys doing today? Had a pretty good day today, ate some food, stuff like that, trying to get back on my diets very slowly, but it's going to happen eventually. I've been doing calisthenics, working out, stuff like that. I typically, in this day and age, 2021, I haven't really been going to the gym and stuff like that anymore because, the obvious thing, which is COVID-19, you know what I'm saying? So I haven't really been going to the gym and stuff like that, but, it's more so I've been trying to just do things that I can on my own, stuff like that. And, the people that I'm living with right now, we have a thing like, we don't want to go out and, come back and infect anyone else. So we're still kind of limiting, how we go out and move and stuff like that. So, I can't really go out as much as I would, really like to. So I'm mostly confined to home most of the time, and how that can be mentally and stuff like that. Sometimes you might get depressed, things of that nature. And that's why sometimes just doing other things and hobbies can get you out of that mode and overall just help you. So, if you're inside like I am, stuff like that, and you get depressed or things like that, I would suggest that you find something that makes you happy and start doing that. Or pick up a new hobby or something, pick up an instrument, if you have one in the house or something, or if you got money to buy one, pick up an instrument, buy a piano, learn piano, or a keyboard, more like it, I would say. But, without further ado, let's go ahead and get into this. I feel like I've wasted enough time on that, but I feel like it needed to be said at the same time. But here we are in the very next parts of your journey. We're at weeks 7 to 10, and at this part we're pretty far in, so there's some things that I feel like need to be gone over and restated as well. I think both of those things are very important. So the first thing is, again, like I said in the first thing in my last episode, stay consistent. Whatever you're doing right now, you should keep doing, and that's goes for everything that I talk about, from here to the end of this as well. Stay consistent in whatever you're doing. Never lose faith in whatever you're doing, because at the end of the day, you're doing the very best you can, hopefully, and you're on track to making yourself better. So stay consistent, and keep in mind, in my episode 59, that was the very first thing that I said, or more like the third thing I said out of the top 3 things that you need to do to burn body fat. The number one thing was to stay consistent, and it's also something that I talk about every single time that I come on here, is that you need to be consistent with all of these things that I tell you to do, and whatever you decide to do for yourself, you need to stay consistent within that. So make sure you're consistent in everything, and you know what you're doing, and like that. Make sure you're disciplined, and as long as you understand those terms, I personally think you should be all right. So, but I don't want to spend too much time on this. So, next up, I would say that you should have some form of confidence at this point. I think it's safe to say that. I think your confidence levels should be, steadily rising, or at a point where you can finally say that you actually do have confidence in yourself, or, based on what you slowly reaching a point to where you're pretty close to whatever your goal you're trying to reach. Because I have no idea, Because keep in mind, we're 7 to 10 weeks in. That's 7 weeks is like a month and 3 quarters, and 10 weeks is like 2 months, like 2.5 months. So that's a long time. That's a long time in. So yeah, keep that in mind as well. But yeah, make sure you have you should have some confidence at this point. I would personally say, it's okay if you don't, because this is a continuing thing, and you're going to continue to do this for, many more weeks as well. I'm probably going to do this, do this series of, weeks, this through this. I'm probably going to do this for maybe up to like, I don't know. I might go up to like 30 weeks in, and then I'll start something new. But I just want to get to a point where how the so-called beginning should go, like the first 6 months or so, how they should be. So I guess 6 months, I guess that's like 25 weeks in, something like that. But yeah, I just want you to know how this should be. Actually, technically, 6 months is 26 weeks in. So yeah, I'll probably do like the first 26 weeks ish. But yeah, for sure, yeah, you should have some type of confidence at this point. Because that's definitely what doing this builds. Especially if you're doing it right, doing all these things, and you doing all of these things, and you realizing that, knowing that you're doing all these things, you internally know that you're doing this, and you, like, how do I put it? Like, you internalizing that you're doing these things makes you realize that you're doing something, that's inherently doing something very positive for yourself, to a point where you're like, you know what, this is really good. I'm doing this for myself. I'm doing it on my own. I'm getting more disciplined. And then you start to feel better for yourself. Self-esteem starts to rise. You start to look at your results, and now your confidence is up, So, and I'm not saying that's the only way to raise your confidence or nothing. I'm not saying that, because there's plenty of ways to raise confidence that don't regard fitness at all. But I'm definitely saying that this helps. I'm saying that it'll definitely happen when you do it, if you have a goal within this. And it's not you getting more fit that's helping your confidence. That's not it, or at least not all of it. The main thing that's doing it is you reaching your goal. That's what's doing it. So keep that in mind. Next up, I would I just want to say that people will start to notice a change in you, whether that's physically or, again, like I've been talking about, mentally as well. Like I said, with the confidence, people are going to start to notice that you've become more confident, or your self-esteem has shot through the roof, or something like that. That's going to be a lot more noticeable, or it should be, or may or may not be. But because of course it could be the more physical side as well, where that is the more evident of the two. So I would definitely be ready. I would definitely be ready and vigilant, for that moment to happen, where people are going to notice at this point. Because 7 to 10 weeks in, basically, 2-ish months in, people are going to see your results, and you are going to see some results within this time, for sure. You're like, it's guaranteed you will see some kinds of results. based on whatever your goal is, you will see them. And I can say that for an absolute fact with all the confidence in the world for sure. So be ready for that. And I'm honestly excited for you at this point, especially if you're listening to these throughout the time that it's actually done. Like if you're listening to this at the start, on your first week, on your 6th week, I just hit my hand, and then on your 7th week, if you're listening to this, consecutively within those times, I'm sure that works even better. So yes. Be ready for people to see you like that, and to and accept your congratulations. But one thing I will say is that don't expect I don't want you to go to people and say, "Oh, you didn't notice me lose 50 pounds," and then get so mad that you just clock them right in the jaw, just drop everybody in the vicinity. That's not what I'm saying. All I'm saying is it's a very high likelihood that people will start to notice your changes. So I would advise you to, be prepared for that. But, if it doesn't happen, that's okay too. You don't gotta be mad about it. Don't be salty about it. Just be cool, cause I'm sure it will happen. And next I would like to say, again, kind of like I said already, keep that ultimate goal in mind. Whatever your ultimate goal is, whether it's to burn all your body fat, whether it's to become a bodybuilder, or just become, more healthy overall when it comes to, your physical body. I would say just to keep whatever that goal is, keep it in mind, keep it at the forefront of whatever you're doing. If you start to slack, think about that goal. You don't think you're disciplined enough, think about the goal. Keep that goal in mind, because the goal is the end game. That's the end game to all of this, that goal. Or really, I wouldn't even really call it the end game. The end game is to adopt a healthy lifestyle, but whatever your big ultimate goal is, that's what we want to achieve here. It's definitely an end game in a way, but for sure, keep it in mind, keep it at the forefront of whatever you're doing, and don't be afraid to ponder on it, think about it. And it's okay if your goal changes from time to time, because that's typically what happens to a lot of people. Goals change, because as you change, the things you want change as well, and inherently the goals change too sometimes. So that's just how it is. And, from time to time it's bound to happen. So if it does, you shouldn't be too discouraged, if that happens. So just know that is okay, especially if that is something that does happen to you. Next up, continue to log yourself as well. That planner, whatever you're using to keep a log of yourself. I don't even know. It could be on a laptop, iPhone notes. Whatever you're using to keep track of yourself, keep doing it. Keep that consistent as well. There needs to be consistency in that. Keep measuring yourself, weighing yourself, writing it down or whatever. Because over time, you're going to want to know how you were in the past, or what your progress is looking like. Or sometimes if you don't even, because a lot of times people don't notice the progress that's being made, because they're so used to being in, obviously everyone's used to being in their body, but they're so used to being, a certain weight or something, or maybe, that they don't even notice that they're slowly slimming down. Slowly but surely is being trimmed, going down, with the diet and the working out, it's slowly going down. And if you're really big, I wouldn't suggest you do, big, long, hardcore workouts anyways. I would start with small things and just work my way up, but that's that's something for another episode. I'll definitely get into that in the future for sure. But yes, continue to log yourself. That's really important. And it'll be very important for your future as well. Another thing is to stay patient. Stay very patient, because results don't come in a day. I tell you, they do not come in a day. They really don't. But since we're, in particular in weeks 7 to 10, I would assume you see some kind of results at this point. This is the point where most people, or at least I feel like everyone who has been working out, dieting in the ways that I've said in my previous episodes, I feel like people who've been doing it the way that I said, in the specifically the way I said, or just any kind of diet or workout plan in general, I feel like at least 100% of people have had to have seen results by this point. Unless you have some kind of condition or something like that, I don't know. maybe there's something there. I have no idea, but a majority of people will, or I almost want to say all people will have to see results within this time for sure. A lot of people see results in 4 to 6. Some people even see them. Some people even see results in 1 to 3, like I do sometimes.
Do you want to be healthier, yet you just don't know what to do? All these shows telling you this and that, but nothing seems to work. Well, listen close. Golden State Media Concepts has got something great for you. The Health and Wellness Podcast dedicated to workout trends, healthy eating habits, diet, and everything about healthy living. Join us in our banters as we help you not just live life to the fullest, but live it to the healthiest.
All right, what's good, everybody? Here we are back again. Hopefully you stay tuned, for our next segment, which is making the adjustments to your first, not first, but the first 7 to 10 weeks of you starting your workout / diet plan and stuff like that. So we're gonna go ahead and get into that. But before we do that, make sure you stick around. More importantly, if you weren't here for my last segment, I was just going over some general things about week 7 to 10 and just some objectives, things that you should be doing or maybe should not be doing, stuff like that. So if you haven't heard it, make sure you go back and listen to that, because I'm sure that'll benefit you in many, many, many ways. But with that said, also just remember that after this particular segment right here, we're going to be going over what to do if you're still struggling mentally, in this, because I know some people, even after doing all of this, the root of their mental health issues and stuff like that, maybe doing a hobby like fitness and stuff like that doesn't help them as much, and here's some things that may or may not help you and stuff like that. So yeah, for sure, make sure you stay in that, stick around for that. And the most of the things I talk about there are going to be fitness related that you can do to help yourself in that regard. But yes, there's other ways outside of fitness to help yourself mentally as well. So keep that in mind as well. But and then for my last segment, I'm going to go over my favorite athlete from each sport currently. And those sports include basketball, football, and track and field. And I just thought it'd be fun to end off on something real fun, light, nice, especially after talking about mental health, because I know that can be a drag sometimes. So without further ado, I'm not gonna waste any more time, because I be wasting time sometimes. I'm not even gonna lie to you, like sometimes I can just ramble all day. But let's go ahead and get into this next segment, because I feel like I've been talking absolutely long enough. But here we are, so with some more adjustments that can be made, within this next range of your time. So in this next range of your time through week 7 through 10, more like it, I would say at this point, of course, similar to last time, a lot of things, there are a few things that are similar to last episode, because, again, this segment is called Making Adjustments, much like last episodes, but this time you're still making some of the same adjustments, but some things are a little different as well. But first thing is the same, which is to change your food around, change your diet around a little bit. Like similar to the example I gave last episode, if you're eating a salad with tomatoes, olives, and tomatoes, olives, and chives, maybe this time you can put onions, carrots, and chicken on your salad. I don't know, or egg. Just switch up your diet a little bit. And each salad. Like I remember in like two or three episodes ago, I said, I gave you the diet plan that you could use. I think that was 2 episodes ago. No. At this point, that would have been like about 2 or 3, one of them. But in the episode where I gave you the diet plan and stuff like that, or I went specifically into a diet that you could use. I asked if you could eat 3 salads a day and stuff like that. And, each of those salads, if you're doing that right now, each of those salads can be very different. They can have different contents, all with the base of lettuce or whatever, and different dressings or whatever. It's all to you, to be honest. But, if you do decide that's what you want to do, if you want to eat that many salads or stuff like that, or if you just eat one salad a day, 2 a day, 3 a day, it really doesn't matter. All I want you to do is to switch it up at this point and, put different things in it. It doesn't have to be the same old salad every single time you want to eat one. So, just be creative with it. You can be creative with your own food. Everyone likes food, and if you like food, you have enough energy to be creative with it. So, take that and run with it. Do what you will, so to say. Next up, I would say to experiment, and that is experimenting with the food. Of course, kind of like what I just said. Experiment, move things around, do whatever you want to do, be creative. Because at the end of the day, you're supposed to be enjoying this. You're supposed to get into a groove where you do enjoy this, especially if you're the kind of person like me who doesn't like to eat healthy foods all that often, or who just doesn't like healthy foods in general, and you want to, you have to learn to like it. It's an acquired taste, because I know that's pretty much how it was for me a lot of times. Eating healthy was an acquired taste for me, so I had to learn how to like it. In a way, I almost had to force myself to like it, but that was just my personal experience, because I don't like eating healthy, I like sweets and I like everything that's unhealthy, basically. And, that's just how I was. I was an extreme case. A lot of people can eat healthy. I felt like I was different. Maybe I'm not, who knows? But the thing is, experiment, be creative, do whatever you want with it, experiment to the point to where you can at least enjoy the foods that you're eating. So, as long as you're not doing like putting I don't know, like dumping a gallon of sugar on your salad or some nonsense like that, or keep it healthy but be creative. I'm sure you guys know how to do that. You guys know what's healthy, like what's healthy, but a lot of people don't know how to be creative, but do what you will with that, and I'm sure that'll also help spice things up in your eating life as when it comes to your diet, because you can get tired of a diet as well, which is why I say you don't have to keep eating the same foods at the same time every day. You can switch it up, you can do different things. So like I said, be creative. That's experiment. Do what you will with that. Another thing is to make sure that you upgrade your workout, or more, I guess a better word to use is update your workout. Based on, and just upgrade it based on whatever you were doing before, and just take it to the next level, because you've been doing this workout for, in weeks 4 to 6, you've been doing it for 3 weeks, essentially. Well, that's 3 weeks, right? 4, 5, 6. Yes. You've been doing it for 3 weeks. So at this point, I feel like you're at the point where you should say, you know what, especially, and only if you're comfortable. If you're comfortable with if you get to that point, where you're like, man, I'm at the point where I'm comfortable with the stuff I've been doing in my workout. That means that's when you should update. That's telling you I need to update, because I'm not saying it should always be a challenge, just because I believe that when you're working out, you should get to the point where you should reach that point where you kind of plateau. You know what I mean? You should reach that, and I'm going to talk about that in a little bit, but you should reach that point where you kind of hit a stalemate, and you're like, man, this is really easy. Or like, I've accustomed myself to it. And you should have a few days where you're working out, while you're still accustomed to it. And like, every single time there are times and like where every workout should be a challenge. Like if you're a serious athlete, or like a professional in the NBA or something, I do believe in that point, every single workout should be a challenge, because your ultimate goal is to get better and stronger and stuff like that. But, for the most part, I think you should get a feel of what a casual workout is. So whenever you do reach that stalemate, you should ride it out for a few days, or maybe even a whole week. Who knows how quickly it takes you to reach that point. But whenever you do reach that point, I do believe you should ride that out for a week of however many workouts you do during a week. If you work out 3 times a week, I think you should ride it out on that plateau for about 2 weeks. If you do it 5 times a week, 5 to 7 days a week, which I don't suggest 7, I set 6 days maximum. Take at least 1 day. But based on that, I think you should ride it out for a certain amount of days. If you work out 5 to 6 days a week, I'd say maybe do it for about a week, but I could go on with that for hours, but again, or I guess I should be more specific. Make sure you're raising the weight. When you do upgrade it, go ahead and raise the weight for whatever machines or plates that you use for whatever, make sure you go ahead and upgrade it. Even if you're doing Russian twists and you use like a 25-pound plate on each side or something when you swing it from side to side, go ahead and upgrade that to like I don't know if they have. I don't know if they have any plates higher than 25. I know they got 45s, but I don't know if they have anything in between. But if you can find like one of those not a stress ball, like one of those weighted balls, maybe that weighs 30 pounds, go ahead and upgrade to that or something. I don't know. Be creative, do whatever you can find, find ways to upgrade within that weight as well. So go ahead and raise that. And next I would say to also complete more reps. That's another way to upgrade. You can add reps to your workout, because adding reps does help, especially if you're doing the reps, the correct and definitive way. That also helps you be more defined in whatever area is being worked out. So I would suggest that as well, to add more reps. Or sometimes you don't even have to add reps. You could just add on more defined reps. So you're still doing the same amount of reps, but just slower reps. That's good too. That actually might even be better. People don't like the idea of it, or maybe even doing less reps, but slower reps. But, it helps a lot more. The slower you go, the better it's going to come out, low key. That's what I'm just saying. So, keep that in mind as well. Keep that in the back of your mind, because doing reps are very important too. So they are very important at the end of the day. And, I really hope you, guys, internalize that and understand that as well. Make sure that you start to, also max out as well. Make sure you're maxing out at the end of the week. And this goes for people who are lifting. Like if you're lifting weights or squatting, lifting weights or squatting, same thing. But if you're squatting, benching, deadlifting, anything like that, make sure you're going, because in the last episode I was talking about, make sure you know what your max is, or in weeks 4 to 6, find out whatever your maxes are, or just find out whatever they are and log them, and based on whatever those maxes are, make sure you max out at the end of every week, like, because when you're working out, you don't have to always do your max every single time you work out. You can do a regular workout with like 65% of whatever your max is, or a workout with about 70% of your max. I would say do anywhere from 50, whatever your max is. You should do a regular workout in between about 55 to 75% of whatever your max is. That's what I would say personally. And then at the end of the week, or at the end of every week, so at the end of week 4, at the end of week 5, the end of week 6, and then moving on to this, this episode, end of week 7, 8, 9, 10, you should be maxing out, or at least attempting to do one rep of whatever max you have. So if your max is 400 and benching, go ahead and do one bench or one rep of 400 at the end of the week. Of course, make sure you have a spotter, safety, stuff like that. Make sure you have a spotter who can actually help you. Or you could do what a lot of people do as well. You could have 2 spotters with you, one on each side of the benching bar, and they can pull it up that way. That's just as effective of a method. And also, and in a lot of ways, it works even better. So I would suggest 2 spotters, one on each side, but you can have 1 spotter as well that's up top helping you. But most important thing is to make sure that they can actually carry the weight that they're trying to pull up off of you. And the last thing I would say is to basically after the diet, or well, actually, I guess I'm more effective way to say it would be, is that this applies for both diet and for working out. I would say that in the time to make these adjustments and stuff like that is particularly when they plateau. Whenever you see yourself plateauing and saying, hey, I'm not moving anywhere, I'm not being challenged anymore, that's when you need to make these changes. Of course, you can ride out the plateau for a week or whatever, however long I said before, depending on how often you work out a week and stuff like that. But you need to at least be writing or thinking of what your new upgraded plan is going to look like. So be mindful of whatever you're doing in that situation as well. Just remember that you do need to make these adjustments, and these adjustments are very necessary, unless you're not being challenged at all, because that could very well be the case. Because you could just you could be in a situation, not challenged, but you could be in the case where you are still being challenged. Say I started week 7, and say it's week 9, or say I'm about to start week 10, more like it. And say most people start to plateau at this point when they're about to start week 10, but say I don't hit a plateau. All the workouts I'm doing are still very challenging to me, and I'm still pushing my hardest every single time I go to work out. Because that could very well be the case for some people. And if that's the case, then I would suggest that you don't make adjustments to the workout at all. You only make the adjustments whenever they are needed. So your workout shouldn't really follow the the week plan out that I'm doing, this series that I'm doing, like weeks 1 to 3, weeks 4 to 6, weeks 7 to 10. It shouldn't really follow that format. It should follow whatever's actually working for it. But again, with that said, I'm going to go ahead and end that off here. I feel like that's a good place to stop. And after these messages, we're going to come back and we're going to talk about how to deal with yourself mentally if you're still having those mental issues and stuff like that. And then after that, in my final segment, we're going to go over my favorite athlete from each sport: basketball, football, and track and field, just to end off on something pretty something not depressing, stuff like that. And if you weren't here for the earlier segments, I was basically going over essentially in my first segment, I was going over weeks 7 to 10 and just some overview things and objectives that could be told to a lot of people there. So if you didn't hear that, make sure you go back and listen to that as well. It's not too far back. But with that said, I'm going to go ahead and end that off here. And I'm going to be right back. Essentially, me, only me. I'm the only one. I'll be right back after these messages.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Here we are for our very next segment, and we will be talking about, people who are still struggling mentally within this time. And if you are, here are some things that can, generally help you within this time. But these are very heavily fitness related, but at the same time, there are other ways outside of fitness to help you with your mental health as well, especially if you're struggling with it. So with that said, we will get into this after I do let you know that after this segment, I'm going to be going over my favorite athlete in each sport, which follows basketball, football, track and field, and then I'm essentially just going to go over that and stuff like that. I thought that would be a really good way to end off this episode, especially after talking about some pretty heavy things. So hopefully you guys can look forward to that and stick around for that as well. But previously, if you weren't here for the previous segments, I was going over what adjustments should be made, like changing your diet, experimenting, how to upgrade your workout, raising the weights, more reps, stuff like that. Just what to do with your diet and what adjustments, what time to make the adjustments, and maxing out, stuff like that. So if you haven't listened, go back and listen to that. And in my first segment, I was going over an overview of week 7 to 10, which is the premise of this episode, and what to do within week 7 to 10, and just very broad things, very broad bullets on what you should be doing, how to do it, stuff like that. So you want to hear about those kinds of things, make sure you go back and listen to that, because that's some real interesting stuff and real helpful things as well. So hopefully you go back and listen to that, because that can really help you as well, stuff like that. And without further ado, actually, you know what? I do want to say that with this talking about mental health is always a heavier topic, and I know it's it can be a sensitive thing for a lot of people. It's a little sensitive to me as well sometimes, because I feel like it's something that everyone struggles with, including me as well, especially depending on whatever your situation is or whatever's going on in your life at the time. So, it can be a very sensitive thing, depending on whatever situation someone's in. So, yes, that is the case. But, yes, I'm not going to waste any more time. Let's go ahead and get into this. So, you make it to this week 7 out of 10, or week 7 through 10, more like it, and you've made it this far. I've been telling you time and time again throughout the weeks that your confidence is boosting, stuff like that. I've even told you in this episode that your confidence should be at a certain point, your self-esteem should be at a certain point, stuff like that. And more specifically, addressing the people who haven't reached that point, in their career doing this so far, it doesn't make you abnormal in any way if you haven't reached this point. All it means is that either you need more of a push, or you just need more time in general, or there's just outside things that, doing fitness and working out and dieting and stuff like that may not help as much, because doing these things for yourself and helping yourself in general does help you mentally, and it always will, it usually does, but there does come a point where, you need to realize that some things help more than others, and it'll do you better to learn that, So keep that in mind. I do want you guys to keep that in mind as well. But yes, first thing I would say to make sure that you look through your log, because at the end of the day, the log is your best friend. You looking through the log, it's helping you to it's helping to remind you of the things that you've been doing, over the course of you working out and trying to reach this goal. So I would personally suggest that you look through your log and stuff like that. Maybe try to get some inspiration. Get a better outlook of yourself. Because if you're feeling down, especially if you're feeling down and hard on yourself, look through the log. Look at your progress. You're 7 to 10 weeks in. You may be depressed because you haven't seen any progress, but maybe you have been making progress and you just haven't realized it. Maybe you gotta look back through the log that you've been logging down and stuff like that. Maybe you have to see it, the hard way, I guess I could say. But look back through your log. You can even put notes in your log as well, and notes, helpful notes and stuff like that. Maybe looking forward in time to the times where you may feel depressed or something like that. So you can make notes for yourself, stuff like that. Because I know that may help as well. I used to make video messages for myself and stuff like that. To help get me through some of those times and stuff like that. So I'm sure making those physical notes can help as well. So that's an idea. That's something that you can do to help yourself. So I would definitely look into that. So another thing is that, kind of continuing off of, if you've been making progress but maybe not even realizing it, I think one thing that a lot of people need to realize is that all progress is good progress. As long as you're making some kind of progress, just know that you are being very successful, because everyone's body works very differently, which I've been saying since day one, and everyone moves at a very different rate. And when I say very different rate, I don't take that very lightly. I mean that to its fullest extent. Everyone moves at an extremely different rate. So my rate is nowhere near yours, and it's nowhere near mine. So we're all going to have very vastly different experiences when it comes to that. So, and I think that's inevitable, and that's just how we are. Everyone is very different. So, as long as you accept that, I feel like, you should be able to move on a lot faster, and it should help you as well, because you understanding it will help you mentally. Understanding things is definitely one of the best ways to help you mentally. Just understanding is a very important component to that. So, yeah, I would definitely look into that, just nailing it into your mind that all progress in some way, because trust me, you can find a way. All progress is good progress. And that's definitely what I want to be nailed into your mind space. Just keep that in mind, and hopefully you can understand it one day. Hopefully you understand it now, but yes, know that all progress is definitely good progress. That's what I say. Some people may disagree, but that's what I say, because at the end of the day, you're just getting better. And if you're getting better, how can that be bad? As long as you're not doing stuff in the meantime that, as long as you're not doing things in between that are bad, that tend to make the whole thing look bad. So, yeah, just know that. Keep that in the back of your mind, and, stay good, stay hopeful, I almost said something I was going to talk about later, but, yeah. Another thing, this is optional, especially in this day and age, some people tend to do this, some people maybe not. I know some people who do these kinds of things, but I would say you can post yourself. I'm sorry, my throat was like super parched. But one thing I would say is that you can post yourself, and let's say you're working out and you want to post your results or something like that, especially if you're one of the people who have a lot of results, or who have, and even sometimes you can have a lot of results and still be depressed and stuff like that, because depression knows no bounds, and if you've had it, that's a fact. So yeah, you could post yourself or maybe something like that, and I'm sure you'll get good reviews, stuff like that, good comments, especially depending on the people who are in your life, because you could very well get some terrible ones. This could be a terrible choice, which is why I said it's optional. But I'm not the kind of person who would do that, who would post myself or whatever, stuff like that, because I find satisfaction in me just doing it on my own. But some people are the kind of people who maybe need that outside praise, I guess you could say. But I mean, it's just one of those short ways that could help. I wouldn't always recommend posting your journey. I mean, if you're there to post a whole journey, that's cool. But if you're just for a one-time thing, that's cool as well. So yeah, I would definitely recommend that as well. That's an option, because people can be very uplifting and forgiving, but they can also be the worst, which is why I said this is optional. So yeah, I think you can make that distinction on your own based on who you're following, who's following you, stuff like that. So based on that distinction, you can tell whether or not that is the smart decision. For me personally, that would not be the smart decision, because yeah. But yeah, again, that's you looking at your own life and determining that based on you knowing yourself. So yes, look into that, and you should be able to make that decision on your own for sure. Next, I would like to say that kind of tying into that you should be keeping supportive people around you, and that's one thing that I've been saying since episode 59. I've been saying that you need to keep supportive people around you, because that's really important. That's just as important as eating healthy and dieting. I mean, eating healthy and dieting. That's just as important as eating healthy and working out. You need to keep those people around you who are going to uplift you and be by your side through all of these hard times. And and you need to have people beside you who you can talk to as well and stuff like that. So these are things that you need to be thinking about. So keep that in the back of your mind. Actually, I wouldn't even say keep that in the back of your mind. That's something that you need to keep at the forefront of your mind, to be honest. Because you meet new people every day, or you used to before lockdowns and stuff like that. But I mean, for the most part, a lot of people who go out and stuff like that, you meet new people every day. So for those new people that you meet, if they're going to be a part of your life, I would personally suggest that make sure that they're supportive, get to know them first. I mean, and you could have acquaintances without them being a friend and stuff like that, without them actually being in your circle and considering them a friend. But I would just personally say if you meet someone and you want them to be in your actual circle, then I would personally suggest that you look into them and find out if they're friend what is considered friend material to you. So look into that, be smart about it, and you can make that distinction again on your own. So yeah, be very careful with that and go crazy. Next, I would like to say, basically, I would, if you're feeling like, I guess you could say if you're feeling if you're feeling uncertain about your goals or about your main goal, you're saying, maybe I don't know if I can really do this. If you start to feel those doubts, stuff like that, I would say to make smaller goals and, smaller goals that work their way up to your bigger goal or the biggest goal. You got to set yourself up for smaller victories along the way, because you can very well set yourself up for a victory. People set themselves up for failure all the time, but setting yourself up for victory is very much possible as well. And that's something that you can do with this. Set yourself up for these smaller goals that lead up to your bigger goal. And as you reach these smaller goals, you're slowly accumulating your way to your bigger goal. And you reaching these smaller goals makes it more likely for you to reach that bigger goal. So I would personally suggest that that's something that you do. Hopefully when you do that, you are able to reach, that higher level and stuff like that. So keep that in mind. Hopefully that's something that you can incorporate. And you will see how that goes. And yeah, hopefully it goes well for you. I wish you the best in doing that. Another thing I would say is to stay locked in, or to get locked in, or get yourself immersed, because a lot of times when when you start to feel that doubt and stuff like that, or you start to become hard on yourself and things like that, a lot of times, if you can get yourself locked in, whether it takes doing other things before this or whatever, whatever it takes to get yourself locked in. If you can get yourself locked in, that typically tends to help as well, because sometimes that, gives you that motivation, or, and stuff like that, it gives you, the drive to reach that main goal or to finish what you started ultimately. So I would personally suggest that you get yourself locked in, and, that you get yourself immersed in what you're trying to do. So, I think there's plenty of ways to get yourself locked in, whether that's to look at your goal and think about how badly you want it, understand if that's really what you want, maybe evolve your goal into something even bigger, maybe talk to someone who reassures you in your own goals or something like that. That's the point of having supportive people around you and stuff like that. But I think there's a lot of ways to do that, to reassure your goals and to get yourself locked in, if you really even want that goal. Because if you really do want that goal, getting yourself immersed is something that will definitely happen for sure, especially if it's something that you really want. I can say that for sure. Last thing I want to say is that, pretty cliche, but you got to believe in yourself, because if you don't believe in yourself first, no one else will. Because I know I wouldn't believe in someone who doesn't believe in themselves, because I think that's easily one of the most important things. It's one of the more basic things, or one of the most basic things, but it's easily one of the most important things because it's an essential. Because what does that mean when you feel doubt? It means that you don't believe in yourself at all, or I guess in some aspects, So that's definitely an important thing to keep in mind as well. You need to continuously believe in yourself. So that's what I would value as well. That's I would hold my values at there, to help believe in myself, because that's extremely important, and I recommend that for everyone listening right now. So, but with that, I'm gonna go ahead and end this off. I kept things pretty, pretty simple, pretty broad. Some basic things that may or may not happen based on your mental health. While you're going through this, pretty good into your run of working out and dieting and stuff like that. So, with that said, I'm gonna go ahead and end this off right here. Hopefully, you enjoyed the segment and the ones before as well. But make sure you stick around for my next segment where I go over my favorite athlete in each sport, which I think is going to be pretty fun because, this tends to be a pretty heavy topic, stuff like that. And I think it'll be a really good place to end this off at. And those sports will be basketball, football, and track and field. And I'm going to go over that. And these are current athletes as well, so don't even worry about it. But yeah, we're going to be back with that, but right after these messages.
The GSMC Life and Happiness Podcast takes you on a journey of exploration. We'll discuss tried and true methods alongside the latest trends of how to best live your life to its fullest and happiest. From psychology to meditation, science to self-help books, the GSMC Life and Happiness Podcast will help you to discover what makes you happy and how you can live life being the best you possible. Download the GSMC Life and Happiness Podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Play, or anywhere you find podcasts. Just type GSMC in the search bar.
All right, what's going on, everybody? Here we are back for our very next segment, the very last segment, as a matter of fact. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed this entire episode as a whole. We went through everything that we were talking about, ranging from various topics that involve the 7 to 10 week period that you should currently be in at this point. But though, if you weren't here from the earlier segments and stuff like that, the things that we talked about essentially range from, in our first part, we were talking about the first 7 to 10 weeks and, general things and objectives that you should be keeping in mind as you explore this and do this for the first time and stuff like that. So if you didn't listen to it, make sure you go back and listen to that. I think that'll benefit you greatly, because that was also a very informative segment, stuff like that, highly informational. And after that, we were talking about making adjustments, what adjustments should be made, and how adjustments should be made, when to do the adjustments, stuff like that. Stuff like, when to max out, how to max out, and, like how to schedule that in. Basically, it was, very short how to schedule it in, but nonetheless, it was there. So go back and listen to that. That was really cool as well. And after that, we were talking about, mental health, and if you're still struggling mentally, what to do. By the way, I didn't say it in the last segment, but if it's something outside of fitness, if fitness isn't helping you with your mental health, get outside help as well. Whether that's confining in your family or therapy or whatever fits or suits you best. Get outside help as well. I just want to go ahead and throw that in. But and of course, in this segment here, we were talking about my favorite athlete in each sport currently, and those sports are basketball, football, and track and field. So yes, we have finally made it to this segment after all this tragic and informative and things that we were talking about in this episode. I really enjoyed this episode personally. I hope you guys did too as well. Really thank you guys for tuning in. By the way, if you I know as you hear and as make sure you guys go check out the other GSMC podcast as well. Like I said, we have many things. We have along with the fitness podcast, we have a health podcast. We have we have a beauty podcast, weird news podcast, sports podcast, football podcast, basketball podcast. We have many different things, many different avenues that you could get into, entertainment podcasts, stuff like that. So I would highly recommend that you go check them out as well. I just want to go ahead and throw that, a shameless plug in there real quick. Yeah. Let's go ahead and get into this final segment. I know you guys have been waiting for this, and I kind of stalled it a little bit as well, unfortunately. But here we are, nonetheless. My favorite athlete in each sport currently, sip of water. I'm so sorry, my throat was very, very parched. But here we are. So, my favorite athlete in each sport currently. Now, I'm kind of conflicted on how the order I want to do this. I had this all set up on what order I was going to do this, but now I'm actually kind of conflicted. But you know what? Let's start off strong. Let's start off with basketball. And these are current players, so people currently in the NBA. And my favorite basketball player right now is LeBron James. Of course, it's gotta be LeBron James, the absolute GOAT of all time. I don't care what no one says. He's the GOAT. But yeah, my favorite player is LeBron James. You know, I've been following LeBron ever since his career started. I was like a little kid at the time. I was like, I was like 3 or 4 when LeBron entered the NBA, and I remember at the time, you know, it was such a big thing, and I remember when I was like 8 or 9, I got his poster on my wall. I was so excited, you know. I was like, oh, LeBron, you know, he turned into a role model. He inspired me to continue basketball, pursue basketball, stuff like that. You know, he inspired me to work out, things like that. You know, him along with Kobe, rest in peace, stuff like that. So, yeah, I gotta say LeBron James. LeBron James has been an absolute inspiration. If it wasn't a current basketball player, it might have been Kobe. I'm not gonna lie to you, it might have been Kobe. But talking current basketball players, definitely LeBron. I have to say that the man is I'd honestly say what I'm most impressed with isn't his skills on the court. It's honestly what he does off the court, how he conducts himself and what he does. You know, he conducts himself so professionally in a way that, you know, he comes off very professional to other people and to me as well. You know, because a lot of times he could handle the media in a way that is very disrespectful and puts himself in a bad image, whether they deserve it or not. So I really do respect the way he handles a lot of people in a lot of situations. You know, take him losing the NBA Finals. You know, a champion who knows how to lose. What can be greater? You know, take him losing the championship. You know, him talking to the press and stuff like that. You know, because the press tend to ask the press and media tend to ask a lot of questionable questions. You know, ranging from, did you know that you were going to lose this game? Are you going to go to a new team? Will you be traded? Are you going to request a trade? How is your ankle feeling? How are your kids? Like, asking weird questions that have nothing to do with anything, or that are just very touchy things that you really shouldn't even be asking at this point. Like, are you sad that you lost? Like, what? Of course I'm sad I lost the finals, you know? But anyways, regardless, I like the way he handles himself in these situations. I really do respect the man for that. And I can honestly say that he's definitely a role model, and you know, for how people should carry themselves in these situations. So, if you haven't seen him in those situations, I highly suggest that you take a look at it. That you can definitely find it on YouTube and stuff like that. So, yeah, very inspirational in that regard for sure. You know, I like a lot of players, though. There's a whole list of players that I could go on in basketball that I actually like. You know, well, current players I said, but you know, I like Curry. You know, I like Dame. You know, I like a lot of people in the NBA, you know, 'cause for very different reasons. But overall, I just had to pick LeBron. You know, just definitely had to pick LeBron James. You know, because just for the generational impact that he's had on a lot of people, including me as well. You know, me following his entire career from his first NBA Finals in like 2007. That first poster that I got on my wall, I was so excited to have. Me switching states and playing on a team and just trying to be like him, getting his number. Man, it has been an absolute ride with LeBron. I can say for sure, following his entire career has been an amazing thing. But yeah, I can definitely say LeBron James has been my absolute favorite basketball player currently for sure. All time, that would be a whole discussion. But definitely if we're talking currently for sure, I can definitely say LeBron for an absolute fact. Of course, some people might feel like saying LeBron James may be a cop-out thing, but no. LeBron has actually had an amazing impact on me and how I developed my basketball skills and how I thought, you know, because LeBron James isn't just all Bron. You know, he's developed into many things over the years. He became a shooter. He became more of a shooter, got better at slashing, became a smarter player overall, a better passer, you know, better IQ. He became a floor general. What small forward do you know just becomes a floor general? You know, he learned how to play all positions, as a matter of fact, while we're speaking on that. Broke multiple records over the year. I'm not going to go over all the LeBron James accolades because he's done many things on the court like that. But again, going back to what he's done off the court, you know, he opened a school for his hometown in Akron, Ohio, opened up a whole school, the LeBron Promise School, you know, donating to many organizations, never shies away from talking to fans and giving out autographs, you know, does lots of things for the community, such as things that I have named previously. And he's just been such an amazing person over these years that I can't neglect it. It has to be LeBron. It has to be. So I got to give him his props there for sure. If we're moving on to football. Now football, I got a lot of favorite players, but if we're speaking current players, I gotta go with and by the way, I am a Los Angeles Chargers fan. So I've never even been to LA or California in my life, but hey, as a kid, I was a big fan of LaDainian Tomlinson. I saw the lightning bolt, thought it was cool. So here we are today. So speaking on football, I am a LA Chargers fan. Big fan of our new quarterback that we just got last year, that we drafted, Justin Herbert, Rookie of the Year. Very humble guy and everything. I really like his demeanor. I like his game as well. He has been playing very well, too. Hope he keeps it up and only gets better from here. And he's also the future of our franchise as well. So I'd honestly say that he would be my favorite player right now in the NFL, just because he's on our team, and he and he was Rookie of the Year. And it's just his great start off and everything. I would have to give it to him. By no means is he the best player in the NFL. You got your Aaron Rodgers and Russell Wilsons and Derrick Henrys. There's other great players in the league that are, I guess, overall better than Justin Herbert. But as a rookie, he has had a breakout season, broken records in his rookie season, stuff like that. And him playing for my team and being the future of my team is just the cherry on top. So I have to give that to him. I think it would actually be very wrong. I think it would be a disservice to him if I didn't give him that title as my favorite player in the NFL currently. So, yeah, I definitely got to give it to Justin Herbert. By the way, he should not have cut his hair. Him rocking the surfer hair was his look. I don't know why he cut it. I don't know why you cut it, Justin, but I really do hope that you grow it back, because you look really cool with that. I'm not gonna lie to you. But yeah, for sure, Justin Herbert, definitely my favorite. I really hope that that he can live up to everything, because honestly, when he came into the league, I mean, he was a first round draft pick. He was a first round draft pick, but he wasn't really looked at as he wasn't looked at like if you do follow football, the draft just happened a few days ago. Well, it happened I think yesterday. If you do follow football, well, he was drafted 3 days ago because the draft lasted for like 3 days. But if you do follow football, you know that Trevor Lawrence just got drafted to the Jaguars. If you do follow football, you know that Trevor Lawrence was a very hyped up prospect and stuff like that. So compared to him last year, Justin Herbert was not that hyped up at all by any means. And although he is very good, he's just one of those players who have stormed into the league and proved everyone's doubts absolutely wrong, and has had a breakout season. So that's definitely one thing I respect about him. And he, again, like I said before, he's very humble, very nice guy, not cocky about anything, because he could very well be extremely cocky for all the things that he's done. All the rookies who have gotten injured in their very first year, and this man, Justin Herbert, has been breaking records and becoming Rookie of the Year and just having a great season on a team he barely knows. You have to give him his props where it's due. You just have to. He's a future star in this league, and I'm hoping for the very best with him. I really, really am. So can't wait to see how it goes with Justin on our side. I'm hoping for a Super Bowl this year, but hey, you never know. I'm predicting at least the playoffs, and I'd say we're gonna go midway through the playoffs. Definitely at least midway through the playoffs. I don't know what our schedule is right now. It actually drops on May 12th, but I assume if I had to throw out a number based on and there's actually 17 games this year, so I have to get used to that. But I would say that our record is going to be definitely no less. We're not losing any more than 7 games. Well, I guess 8 games now. There's 17 now that there's 17 weeks. I'd say we're not losing more than 6 games. No more than. I got us going. Honestly, 11-6. 11-6. I think that's good. I think we can pull that off. On a low note, I have us going. I'd say 9-8. on a low ball, I have us going 9-8. On a high ball, I have us going, I'd say, on a medium ball, I guess would be what I just said, 11-6. On a high note, I got us going about 13-4. 13-4. I think that's fair. But I think it's safe for me to move on because I spent a lot of time on Justin Herbert. But shout out to Justin Herbert, my favorite football player currently. Next up is track and field, and I'd have to say currently my favorite track and field runner is Noah Lyles. He is a specialist in the 200 meters. As he's trying to run the 100 meters as well in the next Olympics. He's a top prospect. He's doing very well. He has broken records as well, and he's doing pretty well for himself. If you don't know who Noah Lyles is, you should really look into him. He's a very good sprinter. Again, specializes in the 200, 7th lane, outside lane, runs really well, has a very good finish. I really like his demeanor, his personality. He has a very big personality as well, kind of like Usain Bolt, very showy and stuff like that, but not arrogant, or at least I don't think he is, because of course I haven't met the guy, but I really like the guy, and I like what he does. I like his demeanor. I like everything about him so far. So hopefully, and I know the Olympic trials are going to start soon, so it's very likely that he will be in the 2021 Tokyo Olympics. I don't know if it's this year. Should have been 2020, but we all know what happened. But I think it's 2021, or if not 2022. But he will be in the next Summer Olympics. So very excited, and make sure you watch out for him and see what he does, because he's up there, and he's definitely someone that you should look out for, especially in the sprinting game. 100 and 200, specifically 200 though. 4x2, all of it. 4x1, he might even be on that as well. But yes, those are my favorite current athletes in those 3 particular sports. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that. If you want more, then, let me know on Twitter. Follow me at GSMC _fitness and stuff like that. But again, thank you for listening to the GSMC Fitness Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Fitness Podcast Network, by the way, my fault. But I would like to ask you to please remember to subscribe to the show and write a nice review, because that really helps us at the end of the day. And also, if you can please follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, that would be really nice. Again, follow me at GSMC _fitness and all the other podcast hosts as well. It's pretty much the same thing, GSMC _ whatever you want, GSMC _ sports, GSMC _ football _ basketball _ beauty and tips _ weird news podcast, stuff like that. So go ahead and follow us on there. We all have some interesting stuff going on, some interesting episodes. So and I'm sure they'd really appreciate it as well. And with that said, I'm gonna catch you guys later. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode and everything. So with that said, I'm gonna go eat some food, stuff like that, do some work, because a man's in college, I gotta graduate. And with that said, see you later.
You've been listening to the GSMC Fitness Podcast, part of the GSMC Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcasts on Stitcher, Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, Google Play, and any app where you listen to podcasts. Just type in GSMC to find all of the shows from the GSMC Podcast Network. From movies to music, from sports to entertainment, from business news to weird news, we cover it all. You can also follow us on Twitter and Facebook and listen to these podcasts on YouTube. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's podcast.